using the direct selection tool to change and manipulate shapes. First thing I'm going to do is create a shape. I'm going to start with my rectangle tool, and I want to make a perfect square. In order to make a perfect square with the rectangle tool, all I have to do is hold down Shift, and there it is. And the Shift key is good for really anything like that, like if you want to make a perfect circle or a line that is perfectly horizontal or vertical or at a 45-degree angle, the Shift key will help you with that. So now here I have my square, and I'm going to talk about the different components that we're seeing. First, I'm going to go to my direct selection tool, which is the cursor looking icon that's filled in with white. On my square, I have anchor points, which are these blue squares, and when you hover over it, it says anchor. So I have 4 anchor points in a square. And then on the inside, I have this option to curve in my anchor point. So let's see what happens if I just drag this circle in. That's actually gonna curve those sides. If I want to only curve in one side, what I'm gonna do is click on an anchor, not an anchor point, a curve circle point here, and then I can just drag that one in, and that's how I can choose which ones I want to change the shape of. I'm gonna click Control Z to undo that. If I want to do more than one, I can hit this little circle here, hold down the Shift key, click on the other one, so now they're both selected. They're kind of more blue than before, and I can bring them towards each other, just like that. And that is how I can kind of change from hard edges to curved edges. So now that we've talked about that, let's see what happens when I actually change where the anchor points are. So you'll see now that we've gone from a square to this kind of leaf shape, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 anchor points now. The reason for that is because we've created a more complicated shape, so it needed more anchor points to kind of make it. So if I click on an anchor point and drag that, whoops, I just have to click on it first. I can change my shape in specific ways, like that. Let's say I don't want this anchor point to be here anymore because I want to have a nice smooth line connecting this anchor point and this anchor point. To get rid of this one, I hold the minus key on my keyboard and I just click on it, and now it's gone. Another thing that you'll notice now that we have curved parts of our shape is we have these little things here called handles. I'm going to make a circle, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. So here's my ellipse tool. Maybe I'll make an oval. So we can see that I have these. Let's click out of it. Here we go. We can see that I have, again, 4 anchor points, but if I click on my anchor points, I have handles on either side. The handles kind of control, I guess, the angle around your anchor point, so you can kind of bring your curves in or out depending on how you move your handles. So I can make kind of like weird potato shapes, like that. Now, if I want to do more of like a real squiggle within this area here, I have to actually make some more anchor points, and that's going to make it so that I can even make my shape more complicated. So to add an anchor point, it's simple. I just hit the plus key on my keyboard, and now I'm adding a few anchor points. So we just need to make sure we understand the difference between the anchor point and the handle when we are clicking and moving them. Let's go back to the direct selection tool. I always want to make sure I'm on the right tool. So here's an anchor. I'm going to bring that out. Here are my handles for that anchor, and I can move those. Now this anchor here, I'm going to, oh, the anchor is actually down here. I'm going to click on this anchor and bring it out here. And so that's kind of, if I want to make a much more complicated shape, all I have to do is add more anchor points. Another thing I can do here is this path that's connecting these 2 points. I can also just click on that path and kind of change that as well. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, but go ahead and play around with, first off, making a shape, looking at the anchor points, creating curves within angles, such as this, and then also moving around your anchor points to make different shapes, and also adding anchor points and subtracting anchor points.